Favorably reported.
I'm
Senator
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I just want to say the bill will be favorably reported to the floor. Senator Cornyn.
Thank you very much. Just before we adjourn, 1 week from today, Title 42 expires. And the Senate Judiciary Committee, which has jurisdiction over immigration matters, has been strangely silent. I've been trying to work with you, with Senator Padilla, with anybody who wants to talk about how to deal with our broken immigration system. But the fact is that what is now a flood of humanity coming across the border is going to turn into a tsunami next week. The Biden administration sent 1,500 active duty troops to the border, which have no authority to actually enforce immigration laws. All they can do is administrative tasks, change diapers, push paper, but under our posse comitatus laws, they can't enforce immigration laws. I led a CODEL that some members of the committee attended down in Mexico City, trying to figure out, is there some way we can address our broken system? The House, I know, has been struggling to come up with a border security bill, and I expect and hope they will send us something. I'm sure it's not something that would get 60 votes in the Senate, but it's a place to start. The Biden administration is known for at least 2 years now that this day would come, and they are wholly unprepared for this. Part of it is just the impression that the border is open. And then you have the Secretary of Homeland Security and the press secretary for the President of the United States say the border is secure. That's demonstrably false. You don't have a secure border when you have 5 million people showing up, basically then being escorted into the interior of the country, where you have Democratic mayors like the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor of New York saying, we're being overwhelmed. Well, my state is on the front line of this tsunami of humanity, and my border communities are being overwhelmed. There's not enough resources to deal with this, and the system is clearly broken. I have zero confidence that the new procedures that the administration is putting in place, where asylum cases can be handled through the ports of entry and people can apply using an app on their phone, unless the Biden administration is actually going to follow through on expedited removals in place of Title 42, this is not going to work. And I don't know what it takes. I mean, Senator Graham and I have had this conversation. We have 108,000 Americans who are dead. Dead. Last year alone, because of drugs that come across the border. 71,000 of those from fentanyl alone. We know where it's coming from. We know how to stop it. But we're doing nothing. I don't know what it takes for people's sense of outrage to be manifested in some action. So this is the committee that has jurisdiction. I don't know why we are not addressing it. It's hard. You know it's hard. I know it's hard. I mean, we've been talking about this topic the whole time I've been here in Congress. But we have to do better. And the Biden administration is clearly unprepared to deal with this. And so somebody's got to do it. And this is going to get worse before it gets better. So I just think we need to try harder.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to say a few words about the same subject. I've talked to members on the Republican side of the aisle who told me they are interested in discussing immigration reform. I want to be part of that conversation too. Some of them have said to me in private, we can't make a move until we see the House initiate action. I heard this last week that they're going to. We'll see if they do. And maybe that will result in the 60 votes that we need to pass anything in the United States Senate. But it is true, Title 42 is a moment The fate of DACA is another moment that is bound to be facing us in the near future, and I want to be part of that solution. I was part of the bipartisan gang of 8 that crafted an immigration reform bill, which passed in the United States Senate, was never called by the Republican-controlled House for consideration. I think that should be the starting point of our new conversation. The bipartisan bill that we passed many years ago, modified to reflect the realities of today. But yes, I'll be a willing partner in that effort and hope that it's a bipartisan effort that has enough votes to see it enacted into law.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Coons?
if I could just briefly, Senator Cornyn, I appreciated the opportunity to join you in trips both to Mexico City to meet with President Lopez Obrador and his cabinet at length, and to the border from the both Texas and Arizona side, the U.S.-Mexico border. This is a very difficult situation. I choose to be optimistic about the recent agreements with Mexico, the creation of broader processing sites throughout Central and South America. I do think we may see a request for additional resources for the border, a point you made. We need to be surging more resources into making sure that we have the personnel and the processing capacity to deal with this. I talked to 2 of the House members who traveled with us to Mexico City who tell me they have finished work on their bill, and I'm very hopeful that it will come forward. This is a difficult issue. It divides us as a nation. It implicates some of our most foundational values, but I appreciate your invitations and the opportunity to work with you and to try and talk further about this. This coming few weeks will be very difficult.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say briefly, I appreciate all of my colleagues and certainly respect them, and I appreciate those who went to Mexico City to try to listen and learn to see, is there some answer here? But one of the things my friend Senator Coons said about perhaps a supplemental appropriation request or more resources, I, for one, am not going to support any additional money going to the Department of Homeland Security without some reforms. We just can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, which is what the Biden administration seems to be doing. So I just wanted to lay down that marker and say, maybe this is the opportunity. Sometimes things have to get to be a complete crisis before it summons the will on the part of Congress to actually do something about it. I'm afraid that time is here. Thank you.
This is challenging,